After the smash hit Persona 5, they have released, well, not yet, Persona 5 Scramble. And with that, they gave us a supplemental LeBlanc curry, so we make it. This has been requested, I can't tell you how many times at this point. LeBlanc curry from Persona 5. Now, before we start, I want you guys to know you actually can make this with 3 ingredients. Some golden no curry, a little bit of chocolate, and some instant coffee, and you're pretty much halfway there. But ho ho ho, we have to use all of these spices. Yes, use fresh spices, toast them if you can. I just have a bunch of dried spices, but again, for this, you can use your favorite curry blend if you really want to. The one dried spice that I could find whole was some coriander, so for that, we are gonna toast it on a cast iron pan. We're gonna be toasting about 1 tablespoon worth of that. Now we're gonna take 1 whole tablespoon of granulated garlic, 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon, 1/2 teaspoon of allspice, 1/2 teaspoon of paprika, 1.5 teaspoons of turmeric, 1 whole teaspoon of cumin, I think it's cumin, 1/2 teaspoon of cayenne pepper, and a nice cracking of black pepper. And finally, 1 teaspoon of fenugreek, or mustard powder if you have it. Now our coriander is toasted, so you know. Once it's all nicely ground and you've enjoyed yourself some asmer, go ahead and dump all of it, all of that good coriander right into your bowl. And there's your spice mix. No muss, no fuss. Now the spice roux is fairly straightforward. You're just going to need a decent amount of butter and some flour. But for this, we're going to be using 1 stick, and a little bit more of butter. This comes out to about 9 ounces worth of butter. Get this all melty and then add in your spices first. We're going to cook these and bloom these in the fat just a little bit. Don't cook them too hard, otherwise they can start to toast a little bit too much. Once you have everything nice and emulsified, we're going to add in your flour. This is equal parts butter and flour, so we're using about 8 to 9 ounces worth of flour. Make sure everything is saturated. You want to make sure that that flour is 100% saturated into the butter and cooked out. You're going to get this really nice, thick, beautiful roux that really you can save for any other day. So now for your mise en place. For this, we're going to be using about 1/2 carrot. You don't really need too much for all of this mise en place. Go ahead and get your carrot nice and peeled up, and then we're going to grate your carrot. You want to use about a medium setting on your box grater. Just get this really nice and shredded like you would be using for carrot cake. The next thing we're going to shred up is about 1/2 of an apple. I'm using a Fuji apple, but feel free to use whatever apple you want. Remember not to do a knuckle buster and destroy your hands, but you do want to make sure you shred this all the way down to the peel. This is going to give you some really nice mushy apple bits, and unfortunately it's going to oxidize, but it'll be okay. Next, we're going to go ahead and grate up just a little bit of ginger. This is about a 2-inch piece, so just get this nice and peeled so that way you don't have to deal with that on your box grater. Grate this on the same setting as you did the other two, and make sure you reach into the box grater for this because sometimes ginger does get stuck. I had a little bit of a nub left, so I went ahead and just chopped this and added it to the rest of my ginger. Now we have our carrots, our apple, and our ginger ready to go. We're also going to add 1 whole onion to this. You can use white, red, yellow, whatever you got on hand. Just make sure you do a nice small dice with this, so that way it incorporates itself really nicely into your roux and into your curry. Give that a little scooch over to the side and make way for your garlic. For this, I'm going to be using about 3 cloves worth of garlic, and we're just going to go ahead and slice this. You don't need to chop it up too much. It will incorporate really nicely into your curry. Go ahead and add that to your onions and just leave it on the cutting board for now. Now for your protein of choice. Again, I am using chicken, so I'm using chicken broth, but feel free to use beef like they did if you have it on hand. You just want to cut these up into about 1-inch cubes, so that way they don't disintegrate in your curry. Keep this into your container of choice, and we also have our 4 cups worth of chicken stock. I do want to season the chicken pretty hard with a little bit of salt and a little bit of fresh cracked pepper. Give it a drizzle with some vegetable oil, and we're good to go. Now to begin cooking your curry, you're going to need a decent sized saute pot or whatever you need. You just need a bigger one. Add enough oil to coat the bottom and heat that up until it moves freely. We're going to add in the chicken first, and then this way we're going to be able to sear it and get oil everywhere. Literally oil splashes everywhere. As you can see from this, it's a disaster, but we also have some really nice color on this chicken. That's what you're looking for. After about 5 or 6 minutes of getting some color on that chicken, we're going to remove this with the worst choice of spatula I could think of. It's so tiny, it took forever. And then we're going to add in our onions and garlic directly to that chicken base. So that way you can start absorbing all those wonderful flavors. As we saute this, you're going to start seeing a lot of that chicken fond removed and going on to the onions. Season this with salt and pepper and just make sure it tastes good. Now give this a stir to incorporate all of that seasoning, and at this point we're going to add in our now oxidized apple, our ginger, and our carrots. I do like to stir after the addition of every single ingredient because I feel like it incorporates just a little bit better and makes everything mingle and have a little house party. Now we're going to finally add in our chicken back to our base, get this stirred up together, have them at the house party, say hi, make friends, and this is when we're going to add in our stock. I'm using again about 4 cups worth of chicken stock, but if you're using beef, please use beef stock. We're going to add in about 4 bay leaves to this. Yes, bay leaves do add a nice little touch of flavor, and we're going to also add in 1 big tablespoon worth of honey. Give this a good stir and make sure that honey gets completely melted while bringing this to a simmer. Once it's at a nice rolling simmer, we're going to add in about 3/4 worth of our roux at first. Get this nice and mixed up, and as you start to cook that roux in your now curry stock, it's going to start to thicken up into that beautiful texture that you're really looking for with a curry. Oh, but it is not done yet. Once you have that gorgeous curry-like texture, we gotta add in our chocolate. Yes, they do add chocolate to this. I've never actually had this chocolate before, but you know what? It's pretty good. So we're gonna add in 1 piece of chocolate. Yeah, right. We're gonna add in half a bar of chocolate to this because it is a lot of curry, followed by just about 1 tablespoon worth of instant coffee. Yes, instant coffee. And now after a little bit of a swirl and twirl with your coffee and your chocolate, you have this beautiful dark color. Now we're gonna add in 1/2 cup of full-fat yogurt. Yes, the full-fat stuff because it has a little bit of a nicer body to it. This is gonna help cream out the curry and even bring out more of a richness to the overall curry. And it also helps mellow out any of the heat. Give this a good taste just to make sure it needs anything else, and yes, a little bit of salt goes a long way here. Give it a final mix just to make sure it's all good. Now grab yourself your favorite 75-cent IKEA plate, and we're gonna load up half of the plate with rice for this. And just, Lucian, get out of the kitchen. We're gonna then load up the other half with a bunch of curry. Add as much as you want, honestly, just you do you at this point. And there it is, your LeBlanc chocolate coffee curry from Persona. And there it is, guys, LeBlanc's curry from Persona 5. We did end up using chicken and chicken stock instead of beef and beef stock, just because I had chicken laying around. Just make sure if you do one or the other, you kind of use the stock that goes with, you know what I'm saying. And with everything going on right now, use whatever vegetables you have on hand, use whatever proteins you have on hand. Don't try to make it exactly the same if you're really going out of your way. Just make sure you get that chocolate and that coffee in there. Oh, it's making my mouth water. Look at that. This is everything. It's so hot still. Oh my God. It's really rich from the roux, but it has this really nice cocoa finish to it from the chocolate and the coffee. A little spicy, a little sweet. This is what I have to deal with when I film. This one. Spicy, sweet, perfect, easy to eat. Chicken is tender. Oh yeah. Oh, that was good. Let me know if you've ever had curry with chocolate or cocoa in it before. I have quite a few times, and it sometimes reminds me of mole, which I also love. My name is Chef PK, bringing anime and video game food to life. Get subscribed, and remember, keep playing with your food, or just keep playing video games, because I hear Persona 5 is a massive grind, so you guys have fun with that.
Phrase game, let's take a break, been a long day, hit your line with your fall through with the light sticks, maybe help me spark the ideas, we got nowhere else to go, it's only up from there, I've been on my own, just running through the fields, saying vivid for the ears, I know that's how they like it, yeah I fantasize it, tell me that it's real when it's all said and done, I said it how I feel it, I let them hear the fear of a passive aggressive, angry black man with a passion, steady grip while I shoot to the stars with a full clip, chatting line with the loose leaf,